Giants Nation, what it do? I hope y'all are enjoying y'all Victory Monday one time, man. I'm feeling real good today. Giants finally got a win over them Raiders, man, 23-16. I know the nation is in the building one time, man. You know we're going to keep it live today on a Monday. Got a couple overreactions I've been seeing on my social media platforms that will bring a little bit of attention to today. But, man, what a victory. What a game plan by the defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham and company. They definitely stood out in this game. I definitely got a lot of agreeing with the offensive game plan as well, man. Sticking to the run. Devontae Booker had a day. The Giants took the opening kickoff and drove 75 yards in 7 plays down the field, and Daniel Jones connected with your boy, not most of y'all boys, but the Pro Bowler, Evan Ingram, for a 30-yard touchdown pass to get the early 7-0 lead. Wasn't a lot of points on the board from the offense, but I do think it was a strict game plan to stick to the run, control the clock, keep David Carr or Derek Carr off of the field. Love what I was seeing, man. This definitely going to be a good game to break down. I think this was a game I tweeted out actually during the game that this was one of the games with what is left of the foundation of this fan base. We needed this win. We really needed this win. This game was really close. It was looking to be like one of those games, you know, like we're going to be hanging real close and maybe take the L. The Giants find a way to get a W late in this game, man, on the back of this defense. Big kudos to this defense, man. Really kept us in this game with those 3 turnovers. For those of y'all that don't know, this is the Giant Overreaction, and what we do here is we bring up a couple of topics. And if you are going to take the topic and say that it is an overreaction and you're going to agree with the overreaction, you're going to put an O in the chat. If you disagree with it, you can put a U in the chat, or if you want to take the push, you can dig down your phone, find that little hand emoji, and put a hand up so you can take the push. I might be taking a couple of pushes today. We're going to see how it goes. Shout out to my homie, The Beard, one time, and the graphics department for setting up the stream for me today, man. Things are looking really good. I was almost in the wrong stream there for a second. Got a early super chat from the homie Wolves in the building one time, so let's bring some attention to that before we get into these overreactions one time. I see the chat is already popping. We got 30 in the building early. Gonna allow some people to populate up in here, man, and we get to these topics. Big shout out to the homie Wolves one time in the building. Even after Casey, I've been saying we winning versus Las Vegas. Man, you Cleo the Psychic Vibes one time in the building. I thought the Raiders was definitely a winnable game on Thursday's preview show. I did not pick the Giants to win the game, though, just because I'm sick of picking the Giants. You know, that pride, that heart thing kind of jumping away and taking the L, so I wanted to play it a little bit conservative. Pun towards the homie Joe Judge one time in the building. And played this one definitely conservative, man, and I picked the Raiders in a close win. I think I had them winning by about 3 points. The Giants come away with the victory here. We get the win by a good touchdown there. I'm very happy, man. I'm ecstatic about that. It's a must-needed win, especially going into the bye. And also coming out that bye, y'all know we got them Bucks on Monday night. That's going to be a tough one. I don't know if you're going to pick the same thing you did for the Raiders game here, but I hope that this is trending on the upside as far as the Giants getting W's against some unexpected teams here, man. Just want to welcome everybody in, man. I appreciate y'all pulling up. We got a lot of people in the building already. I see my man Kalen Dragon in the building one time. Sunday, always holding us down in the building. We appreciate you. You know what it is over here with Awthentik and the Beard. This is one of the biggest supporters in the Giants community one time. We ain't going to show no disrespect to anybody supporting this Giants community one time. I saw a couple people getting reckless on their Twitter a couple weeks back. We gotta put an end to that for sure. Shout out to you Sunday one time in the building. Jameson is in the building one time. Tonio's in the building. No beard today, Tonio. Just Awthentik doing some Giants vibes in here. Who else is in the building here? We got Cernoc's Connection. Shout out to Cernoc in the building one time. Amazing guy in the building. Amazing guy. I almost used one of your YouTube comments as one of the overreactions. I can't remember what it was, but I took a screenshot of my phone during the game, and I was going to use it, and then last minute decided to yank it out the program in there one time. I see David's in the building. Hey, David, good to see you, man. I'm glad you got to pull up for one of the lives one time. Dan Big Blue is in the building one time. Zach is in the building. Cheers to my homie Zach, my homie. What was the old name? Sugar Tots. That's right. I know you changed that name up one time. Wolves is in the building with the super chat. We appreciate you, brother. Who else is in the building one time? Glock is in the building one time. Shout out to the homie Glock in the building one time. We appreciate you pulling up, man. All the Giants fans in the building, all the Big Blue Nation, man. I appreciate y'all pulling up in the building. Afghan's in the building one time. Julissa is in the building. What's going on? Yeah, we got a bunch of y'all, man. I know y'all excited, man. This was a big win for us, man. Good to see that defense now. 3 games in a row looking real good, man. And this was a solid performance against, one of my favorite quarterbacks in Derek Carr, man. He's been a underrated quarterback on most people's radars, but not on mine. It was good to see the Giants defense go out there and limit him as much as we possibly could, man. I like what the defense did in this game. The Giants got out to a really good start in this game, man. The Giants right now, when we get a touchdown on the first drive under the Joe Judge tenure, we're sitting at 4-2, man. That is the recipe for it. Get a good drive. Opening scripts got to look real good. That offense kind of fell flat, a little bit there in the second half and late in the second quarter as well. But it was good to see us get that touchdown on the first drive. It was good to see Evan Ingram, with the positive vibes. Evan Ingram only has 1 drop on the season. He's got touchdowns now in back-to-back games. Love what I'm seeing from Evan Ingram, man. I know he's kind of on that on the bubble as far as a player who will probably be not with the New York Giants next season if it's up to the fans for sure. But I'm a guy that's always rooting for the players that are on the team, man. And big shout out to Evan Ingram, man. He showed up in this game. Without that touchdown, the offense really only puts up 6 points on the day. So let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. We got enough people in the building. We allowed it to populate a good bit. I see Amazing Guy. Let me see what he's saying here. He says, were those 2 losses to Washington and Philly on Thursday Night Football? I know one of them was. For sure, man. But shout out to you. Shout out to the homie Lalo in the building, Mr. HD, who is our resident. I swear he's our only resident Raiders fan. And y'all took the L, brother. I know you sent me that message on Instagram and said it was a lucky win, man. But a win is a win is a win. And y'all know the saying. Shout out to my homie Pat one time. If was a fifth, we would all be drunk. Right now, the New York Giants are definitely celebrating champagne vibes all in that locker room. So shout out to the New York Giants. Shout out to you, Lalo, for pulling up to and tuning in, man. But let's talk a little bit more about these Giants here, man. So the Giants now, this 3-6 record through 9 games is the best record since 2016. In 2016, I don't think that's a great feat. I saw some people kind of celebrating this on Twitter. I think that's a little bit ludicrous. 3-6 is not a good record. We're not a good team at the moment right now, but we did get a good win on Sunday. The 2016 Giants started off 7-2 with a bunch of close victories. I went back, looked at that. I thought that was pretty interesting. But let's get into this first topic without further ado here. Now, y'all know, like I told you on the beginning of the show, if you think that this is an overreaction, I'm going to need you to put an O on the screen or in the chat. One time I'm going to do my best to keep my eye on the chat. Y'all know what it is. We're doing production here at the same time as we're doing the show. And if you want to take the under, put a U in the chat. And if you want to take a push, go ahead and put the hand emoji up in the chat. So the first topic that we're going to start with today, I'm going to slowly let these build up. Y'all know what it's been on Twitter. We've been talking a lot of quarterback situations on Twitter. We're not going to start with the quarterback topics just off the bat. I'm going to let the heat kind of rise in the oven one time. So we're going to start with this game plan. This was a solid offensive game plan by the New York Giants. So let me keep my eye on the chat. I'm going to give y'all a little bit of time to get it going here. If you think this is an overreaction, I need to see some O's in the chat one time. If you agree and you want to take the under, let's see some U's in the chat here, because this was one that I saw. Shout out to the homie Eli from NY Giants Rush. They were in the spaces on Twitter talking about this, and I saw a lot of people with different opinions on this one. And I came into this one with one certain opinion, and by the time I left that conversation, I was really just listening in. But by the time I left that conversation, I was kind of agreeing with a couple of them and what they were saying. Diggy was one of the main people on the panel, and a few others were talking about it. For me, when you look at the box score here and you look at the stats, and you see that the Giants only had 96 passing yards on the day, you go, whoa, this is kind of crazy. Daniel Jones only threw the ball 20 times. Definitely was efficient, though. Third down, we were 6 of 12. I thought that was a really good thing, and a lot of that was because of the quarterback, for sure. Daniel Jones had that beautiful spin on third down where he ran for the ball. I mean, the kid looked like he's going to get his head taken off. I'm definitely getting worried about him running the ball. It's becoming an issue. But, he played solid football on third down, and it was efficient. That was what I would call this game plan. Devontae Booker had a really good day before getting knocked out. I think it was a hip injury. He had 99 yards on the day. I know a lot of fantasy owners were looking for him to get that extra 1 yard, put him over that 100-yard mark. But, at the same time, I think that the Giants did do a good job running that rock. The Raiders did come into this game. Now, let's keep it funky. They're not a good team against the rush. They came into this game 28th with the 28th ranked rushing defense in the league right now. The Ravens put up 189 rushing yards against them. The measly Dolphins put up 133 yards against them on the ground. The Chargers put up 168 rushing yards on them on the ground. The Bears put up 143. The Bears have been dealing with injuries in their backfield throughout the whole year. And the Eagles put up 135 yards against them. The only team that they really limited on the ground was the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they did a fantastic job. They kept the Steelers to about like 40 yards on the ground. I thought that was amazing by them. But outside of that game, the Raiders have not been a good team against the run. And Jason Garrett comes into this game with a game plan that was predicated on the run. The Giants right now have been struggling to score points. We know that. But if you can run the ball, you can keep the quarterback on the sideline. 31 rushing attempts ties the season high. And before that, it was against the Panthers. Devontae Booker led us with the 21 carries, and I thought he did a fantastic job. And when he got hurt, you saw Penny actually get in this game and do a couple of things on the ground, picked up some pivotal third downs there. And Penny owes us one because the taunting penalty that he got last game against the Chiefs, we know that was a part of wrecking that game. So shout out to the homie Super Taj World one time in the building. What's up, fam? Appreciate you pulling up. You know what it is. Giants Nation in the building one time. Amazing guy says Jones threw for 110 yards. And I know that's pitiful. But that kind of goes to what I wanted to say about this game plan a little bit here is, can we trust this quarterback to be able to make plays down the field and go out here and stretch the field, especially with this offensive line right now? We know we are dealing with a bunch of injuries on the offensive line. If you look at the fumble that Daniel Jones had in this game, I went back and I looked at it right before we got on air, and Matt Pert got most of the snaps at left tackle. Matt Pert has a false start penalty on that play where Daniel Jones gets sacked, and the referees just missed it. He got an early jump, and he still got beat, and Daniel Jones still didn't see that pressure coming, and we still get the fumble, which in return, that defense still locked down. It only turned up to be 3 points. But at the end of the day, this Giants offense can't stretch the field. I know people, I see a lot of people digging into the down the field stats and the air yard stats and all that stuff. But when you got an offensive line like this, if we just try to drop back and throw the ball, Daniel Jones is going to get killed. We talked about his athleticism and his mobility. Daniel Jones has some skill sets in both of those categories. But I don't look at him like a guy who's super mobile, a Jalen Hurts, a Lamar Jackson. I don't even, I kind of put him in that Josh Allen category. And if you look at Josh Allen against the Jaguars this past week, when he throws that interception, most of the reason why that interception happens outside of the offensive line breaking down is he's not mobile enough to get away from these defensive ends that are running these days 4.5, 4.6, some of them 4.4s when you look at a guy like Montez Sweat in Washington. So I think it's important to be able to dial up the right game plan. Now, for me, I look at the 110 yards too, and I go, wow, that's not good. I don't want the quarterback to be just throwing that many yards. I don't want to win games like how Mitchell Trubisky won his 28 games when he was a Chicago Bear. That's not the formula for me. But at the same time, when you go into this season and you constantly try to have the passing game plan that it seems like Jason Garrett and the Giants offense have been trying to deliver, for the previous, I'll say, 7 weeks, it hasn't been working. Granted, Daniel Jones has not been turning the ball over at the high rate that we saw him turn it over in his rookie season or last season, to be honest. But you still got to find a way to win games. I like what Jason Garrett did behind the run here. There's a bunch of plays out there where I'm just like, what are y'all doing? The 3rd and 21 where Kadarius Toney gets the quick little hitch pass, and then they try to get not a flea flicker, but like a double pass kind of play to get a big play. I understand it's 3rd down and 21 there, and you're pretty desperate, but at the same time, it's just a waste of a down. I'd rather go screenplay there. We did see some success in the screen game. Devontae Booker was the second leading receiver on the team with 3 receptions. I can't remember for how many yards. I think he had about 38 yards on the day through the air. But I like what Jason Garrett did with the run. I think he did a fantastic job with that. Right now, the Giants have scored an NFL low 41 offensive touchdowns. So you're looking at a unit that struggles to put up points on the board. Y'all see me talking about this on Twitter, especially from a passing perspective all the time. The Giants are just, I don't know what it is, but when we get in that red zone, we struggle. And, you look at the 7 on the first drive. Outside of that, you got punt, fumble, punt, field goal, punt, field goal. I'm going to have to take the push on this one. I'm going to dial back here and kind of look at the chat and see what we got. A lot of overreactions from people in the chat. Jameson, David, Samuel, Wolves took the under on this one, and so did Logix. Logix took the under. Oh, and Logix, I saw you was asking about what character I like to use on Apex Legend. I always use Caustic just about every game, to gas Trapper, if you know the puns I'm leaning towards one time. But shout out to Caustic one time in Apex Legends. That new update is lit one time. But back to these Giants, man. See a lot of people going with the overreaction. And I think I would lean towards the overreaction, to be honest, because the offensive game plan, when you look at it at a glance, it really ain't that good. And if Xavier McKinney doesn't do what he does on a day, the Giants probably lose this game. And also, you got to look at Derek Carr struggled in this game mightily. And without that, I don't know if the Giants come away with a victory. But at the end of the day, y'all know the saying here, if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. All of that is hypothetical. What ended up happening is the Giants got the W, man, and I couldn't be happier about it, to be honest. It's an interesting feeling this late in the season getting a win. I felt better about the win against the Carolina Panthers because I was literally on, like, desperation mode. Like, Giants got to get a win. We're sitting at one win this far into the season. It was starting to feel like, we were truly losing all hope there. Shout out to Sabrina in the building one time who took the under as well. Not a lot of people took the push. I don't see nobody taking the push. A lot of people taking that U. A lot of people taking the over. I wouldn't say it's quite a split. More people probably took the overreaction. I'll keep it funky with y'all. I'm going to take the overreaction because the game plan is not really good, man. And when you're looking for an offensive coordinator to start showing out who's really, really on the hot seat, like, that's not a really good game. He barely snuck out of here with a victory. And got to get an opinion from the homie one time, the Raiders Nation representative in the building, my man Laylo, Mr. HD. Y'all make sure to go sub up to Mr. HD, man. He's got a great couple of channels over there. Big wrestling enthusiast. Also into the current state of the culture as well. He says, man, y'all was definitely supposed to lose in overtime. That fumble was gross. You know what's crazy about the fumble? It was the only sack on the day. I thought that was really interesting. Like, we didn't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback in this game. And I think that the Raiders kind of abandoned the run. When they missed that field goal late, that really hurt y'all, I feel like, a lot. But for me, I'm going to definitely take the overreaction on this one. Good to see Giants Nation is kind of not happy with the performance body offense, But a big game from Devontae Booker in this one, man. We definitely relied on him. He put the team on his back, on his shoulders in this one, and really ran us to a victory. And, one thing I will say, just a little bit of an asterisk here for this offensive line that's been looking god-awful all year. They ran block well in this game. Nate Solder held his own at the right tackle, especially in the running game. Passing-wise, not so much. I'll get to that a little bit later because there are a couple of little statistics there that I do want to point out some stuff from Nate Solder. But in the running game, blocked well. Booker saw holes up the middle, pretty much all day long. I think the formula for both of these teams should have been to run the ball more. The Raiders definitely should have hammered the rock more. Jacobs was looking good while he was healthy out there. And Kenyon Drake was looking pretty good too. But, Giants come out with the victory. I can't be mad at that. But the one thing I do think we got to clean up is when you look at these possessions after the touchdown. Punt, fumble, punt, field goal, punt, field goal. That's pretty pitiful, man. When a guy like me, I like to look for the offense to shine. I'm really looking at skill positions when I'm watching the football game. I rely on a lot of other Giants content creators as far as what happens in the trenches. But with the Giants right now, it is glaringly obvious that we do got to make some fixes in the trenches, that they didn't address the offensive line until, a couple of days before the season starts. Goes to show you that, it's time to get a new GM in here. I laid low, pun to my homie one time, on the GM overreactions because I think it's just too obvious at this point. Anybody who's still, rooting for Dave Gettleman to do well, I don't know what to tell you, man, because right now it's just Giants offense and just personnel, missing on draft stock late in the draft, rounds 3 through 7. It's just been, pretty pathetic, to be honest here. But let's get to this next one, man, one time. And, seems like the general consensus on that one is that that's an overreaction for sure. I kind of got to agree with that a little bit one time, to be honest. All right. Let's get to this next one here one time, man. Now we're going to be talking because, when we get to that offensive side of the ball, that's where I like to shine one time. Trying to keep my eye on the chat, man. I know the beard's a little bit busy today, so if y'all see any super chats or anything, try to bring them to my attention. I got the little side chat open here, but we're doing a whole lot. I think it's time for more real estate on my screen over here. I'm sitting on maybe a 32-inch screen. I think it's time to bump it up to maybe a 42-inch or something like that. StreamYard takes up a lot of it. But let's get to this next one here one time. A new offensive coordinator will make Daniel Jones a top 10 quarterback. If y'all think that that is an overreaction, look at the beat drop like right on time. It's like crickets. If y'all think that that is an overreaction, let me see some O's in the chat. If you want to take the under, let me see some U's in the chat. If you need a little bit more time, maybe you need to see Daniel Jones in that system, let me see that push, that hand sign in the chat one time. I'll give y'all a little bit of time to populate that, and then we'll chop it up about this one. Let's see what the chat talking one time. My man Wolves in the building again takes that under. Max D, shout out to Max D in the building one time. He takes the over. NY Chris, salute to NY Chris in the building, man. Haven't seen you a couple shows, I feel like, man. NY Chris took the push. Samuel took the push. Amazing Guy says, hopefully we are fully healthy for the Bucks game. I don't think it's going to matter. I'll keep it funky with you. I think we're going to take an L there. Says Super Taj World. Amazing Guy takes the under. Wild and Plug. Shout out my homie Wild and Plug one time in the building. One of the realest when it comes to talking about the offensive situation in New York one time. He takes that O for the overreaction. Logix takes the push. Amazing Guy takes the under. Awthentik. Shout out to Awthentik one time in the building. Awthentik takes the push. Jordan Davis takes the under. Instaman. Shout out to Instaman. I don't remember seeing you in the building. He takes the under. Mr. Mini Guy takes the under. Ed Squires. Overreaction. Super Taj World takes the push. Sabrina takes the push one time. Shout out Big Pat in the building one time. Big Pat gonna be on the show next Monday, man. Y'all make sure to keep y'all eyes peeled for that one. Big Pat takes the under. Samuel Weber or Weber, I'm not too sure. I think that might be Weber takes the push. Lucas, shout out to Lucas one time in the building. That's my guy right there. He takes the push. These comments rolling in. Brian, shout out to Brian one time in the building. He takes the under. Ooh, and we're going to start with that one. We're going to start with that one. NY Chris, I appreciate that one time. All right, let's bring this one up on the screen one time. NY Chris says, Jones with 25 touchdowns in a West Coast offense and they hire an OC that doesn't run that scheme is disgusting. That's a good point. And I think that when it comes to talking about Daniel Jones, the number one excuse that people rely back on is how he excelled in the Pat Shurmur offense. It was 24 touchdowns, I believe, and like 12 interceptions or something like that. But what you got to take a look at is how wild them turnovers were. When Daniel Jones was playing under Pat Shurmur, that's not the kind of football that makes football fans, especially the New York Giants, at ease. Because it was like a fumble was happening every play. Interception here. I want to say Daniel Jones has 47 turnovers now in 2.5 seasons. Now, one thing I looked up that gave me a little bit of faith about the fumbling situation with Daniel Jones. Tom Brady, his first 3 seasons in the league, had double-digit fumbles all 3 seasons. Daniel Jones is now halfway to as many fumbles as Tom Brady has in his career. So that does give me faith that if you get the right OC or the right coach, I know a lot of Giants fans like to blame it on the OC, but a lot of this also has to go on the coach as well because the philosophy comes from the coach. Now, I know Joe Judge is no specialist in anything outside of special teams, so it's very easy to just go next man up to kind of blame it on, and we got to blame it on Garrett. Now, there's a lot of things about Daniel Jones that are just puzzling. And I think the number one thing is inconsistency. He cannot string together back-to-back games. I mean, in his whole career, he has not strung together back-to-back games. You're looking at this game now. Coming off the game with the Chiefs, where Daniel Jones' statistics were not great. It was 222 passing yards on the day. He had a 50-yard screen to Booker. He had a 40-yard pass to John Ross. So you remove that, and Daniel Jones pretty much threw for 100 yards on the day outside of those 2 plays. Kadarius Toney had a 20-yard pass on the day as well. I mean, it's puzzling how he cannot consistently throw touchdowns. And, yeah, we got to put some blame on the offensive coordinator. I do understand that. I don't want to put full blame on the kid. But at the end of the day, the players are out there on the field making the plays. So for me, I'm looking for the players to make plays. And shout out to Big Pat. I brought this up on our last episode. Big Pat brought up a play where the Giants were in the red zone against the Kansas City Chiefs last week. You had 2 wide receivers in a tighter kind of bunched up formation on the right. And you had Colin Johnson, who is the tallest wide receiver in the NFL, one-on-one on the left. For me, I played quarterback on the most minuscule level in high school. For me, when I see that, that is literally why we run the fade route as the opening practice route when teams are warming up. It's an easy look and fade throw for me. Daniel Jones doesn't even look over there. The play looks like it was it doesn't even look like it was the Seattle Super Bowl play that Malcolm Butler intercepted. That's the scheme they ran on the right side. And as soon as he saw that Evan Ingram wasn't open on the underneath route, he went into a panic. Didn't know what to do because our offensive coordinator right now is setting this up to be a one read type of offense. And I don't know, I'm not in every practice, so it's hard for me to really assess like what is truly going on. Like, is Daniel Jones not capable of making multi-reads while he's out there? I know one thing for sure. The offensive line is not giving him time to really progress, or the offensive line is not giving him time to progress and go through these reads for sure. But Daniel Jones is barely getting to the second read. We're running a lot of flood concepts to the right. If you look at, I had the passing chart actually for Daniel Jones. I should have uploaded it. Most of the throws were all to the right. He's rolling to the right, and that's because what's happening at left tackle. So we got to put some onus on that and some blame on what's happening at left tackle. You got Matt Pert out there on an island. Matt Pert is not ready to be playing starting left tackle in the league right now. And with the Andrew Thomas injury, he's forced to do that, which is unfortunate for him because it's making him look like a bad draft pick right now as well. But let's go over some of this, some of the passing situations and what's happening with this offense right now, especially in this last game. We're looking at back-to-back games. I do think Daniel Jones was fortunate enough to be able to get 2 red zone touchdowns last week. Granted, they were both on about 4- and 5-yard routes, one to Evan Ingram, one to Kyle Rudolph. Basic throws, to be honest, just quick out route, put the ball on them, get it out in time. A lot of Giants fans have been complaining about Jason Garrett is running an offense where we're not even running our routes to the sticks. You got to understand that in the NFL, the concepts that are ran, to get a first down, you don't have to run it to the sticks. I mean, if you as a fan can obviously see that, then that's pretty obvious for the defense that, we're just going to play at the sticks and wait for the route to come here, and then we're going to make the tackle. So a lot of the times you're trying to catch them off guard. Go and look at both of those touchdowns in the game against the Chiefs. They're both short of the sticks. They're both on third down. Now, I know people are going to look at the one to Sterling Shepard that was on third down where the ball does come out late, but Jason Garrett did come out. People were talking to me about this on Twitter. Jason Garrett came out and said Sterling Shepard did run the wrong route. Okay, I get it. But let's not look at every third down route and go, he has to run it beyond the sticks, because if I can get a quick little out route 2 yards and get my head turned around before the defender is there and we got a one-on-one matchup to make a play to be able to get the first down, most of the time I'm okay with it. It's a high percentage type of play when your quarterback gets the ball out on time. That is what's most important. Shout out my homie Peter Rosenberg one time right now texting me. I got to take a look at this just because I know he's live on air right now one time. But so what I want to get to here is, you looking at an offensive coordinator and a head coach right now that are taming this and keeping it so that the quarterback can't make mistakes. Now, the question I got to ask myself is, am I okay with winning games with our quarterback looking like Mitchell Trubisky? And for the time being, I am. Y'all know I'm one of the people that really harps on the point, build this team like the Rams. Another point that you're starting to see people talk about now that I've been saying for at least 2 years, and people were looking at me crazy. You can go back to the Hub stream right before the season started where we were on a roundtable panel, and I was reiterating this point. Saquon Barkley needs to be used like Alvin Kamara. I've been saying that for 2.5 years, and now finally people are saying, oh, maybe we can use Saquon Barkley kind of like a glorified scat back or like, a third down type of running back. You got to have 2 styles of runners in this day and age in the NFL right now. The teams that are most successful, they have 2 styles. You look at the Cleveland Browns right now, who lead the league in rushing, I believe. I know entering last week that was the case. They got 2 styles of runners. And if it's not going to be the 2 runners that are in the backfield, at least have a quarterback who you can rely on to run, which is why I like what's happening with the Eagles right now in Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts, because they don't really have those 2 style of running backs right now, with Miles Sanders kind of leaning more towards the style that Saquon Barkley is. But they have a quarterback who can really run it. If you look at some of the plays he made in that Chargers game, I feel confident allowing Jalen Hurts to run the ball at will and not being hurt. With Daniel Jones, I don't feel the same. You look at that third down where he was running, and he kind of it was about 3rd and 11. We settled for a field goal on the drive. He kind of stumbles out of a juke where he makes one guy kind of miss, but he can't get his head up in time to see the next guy coming. and he takes a helmet-to-helmet hit that the referees did miss. I do think the referees did miss this. But when he took that hit, I was like, oh, no. These are the kind of hits I don't want to see Daniel Jones taking. Keep that kid in the pocket, a few runs here and there. 3rd and 11, man, just don't do anything crazy to get yourself hurt. The other run, the 3rd down and 8 that he converted, which was he had to get that play. He was struggling throwing the ball to his wide receivers all day. The wide receivers only got 4 targets on the whole day. So that goes to show you that I don't know what happened in his game plan, but the wide receivers were not a part of it. But Daniel Jones finds a way to step up in the pocket, runs up the middle, makes a man miss. He makes that safety miss with a great spin. But then when he gets his head turned around and finally takes the tackle, it's very, very, very reminiscent of the hit that Patrick Mahomes took a couple of weeks ago when everybody thought he was going to be knocked out with the concussion previous to the Giants game. His neck gets all crunched up and he folds, and I'm just like, I don't want to see my quarterback taking those kind of hits. That's how Daniel Jones has now been hurting every season that he's been a starter in the NFL. So for me, it is about keeping your quarterback upright. The best ability that Daniel Jones has at this moment in time is availability. That's for sure. We don't want to see Mike Glennon out there getting snaps. I mean, that's going to be a nightmare for Giants fans that we're already living in a nightmare. This will be part 2. We already had Nightmare on Elm Street. This will be part 2 for sure. But 15 of 20 for 110 yards is very, very, very average. The passer rating system in the NFL it's got to be a little bit flawed because that's 104 passer rating on the day. I know he's got a high completion percentage. And I also saw, I believe it was a Fireside Giants that had the one statistic going around saying that Daniel Jones is one of 2 quarterbacks right now with 6 games of over a 70 completion percentage and over 25 attempts. Like, to me, it was just the biggest reach stat I've ever seen. The other quarterback that is in that category of that statistic is Teddy Bridgewater. I don't really want my quarterback to be in the statistical categories of a Teddy Bridgewater. A lot of that is on this offensive coordinator. But I always hear Bad Dog say this. Bad Dog will be like, yo, what Daniel Jones doesn't have is what Jason Garrett doesn't have. So in his mind, he's trying to scheme up and try to find a way to be able to put out winning product out there with probably the worst offensive line in the league. His weapons are injured. And I don't want to make the excuses for Daniel Jones. It is not okay that Xavier McKinney caught more passes from Derek Carr than Kadarius Toney caught from Daniel Jones. I don't know who to blame on that. But that is not okay. That is just not okay. Thank God Xavier McKinney is out there making these plays because, honestly, without these plays, the Giants don't win this game. Kenny Golladay came up with a huge 3rd down reception, and it was these are the flashes we see from Daniel Jones where we go, wow, we might have a franchise quarterback here. That 3rd down play, pressure barreling down right in his face, he makes a throw on that is a dime. And Kenny Golladay has no choice but to catch it in a tight window. Now, I'll respond to this one real quick because I don't see Clocks in here too much. So shout out to the homie Clocks one time. He says, I very rarely see Giants receivers have separation from defensive backs. Why is that? I think a lot of it does have to do with scheme. But I'd say the number one reason why that is because we can't get protection for the quarterback. You look at a guy like Tyreek Hill, who's probably the best at getting separation in the NFL, or one of them. I'm just winging it. I'm not going off of any stat here. But the reason why is because his quarterback can make those improv-style type plays and buy time. I saw a play against the New York Giants with Tyreek Hill where he started off on the right side and literally just went underneath all the coverage, all the way across the field, and caught it past the left hash. You know, so it's one or two things for me at the top of this offensive line. When Daniel Jones doesn't have a solid left tackle, and left tackle is a very important position in the NFL. This is why you're seeing Jason Garrett roll it out to the right a lot. And when you roll out to the right, you're now closing down the amount of field that Daniel Jones has to work with. So you're going to get that ball out in a certain time there. But it's not allowing your wide receivers to get down the field and get separation. This is no new thing. Daniel Jones now has receptions by 16 different wide receivers on the year. It is not wide receivers, I'm sorry. 16 different players on the year have receptions for the Giants. There's only one other team that has more than him. So for me, it's not a receiver thing, if you know what I'm saying. You date back to last season, there was a couple different guys on the roster. It's not a receiver thing. We talked about separation last year, the Giants being dead last, and Sterling Shepard gave you a great answer in the press conference after they were getting a lot of junk about it. He said 1 yard of separation in the NFL is enough. That's a lot in the NFL. So you got to find ways as a quarterback to be able to make throws in tight windows, but it starts with the protection up front. And I think that's the number one reason why Jason Garrett is having so much trouble with this offense right now. If you could block, you would see more games like the Saints game where Daniel Jones can kind of just sit back there and pick defenses apart and, put up 400 yards. Instead, when your offensive line is banged up the way that ours has been, you get a game like this with, 110 yards from your quarterback, 4.2 yards per pass. It's dead awful. I got to keep it funky. It's dead awful. And I'm trying to keep my eye on this chat as best as I can, and also digging through the notes as well, man, that I want to harp on a couple of points. But, this is the lowest passing yards in a victory since the Giants threw for 94 yards in a 38-21 win in Buffalo in 2007. So this, going back to the first overreaction, you don't want to be trying to rely on this kind of game plan to get you W's, to keep it funky. Evan Ingram was a pivotal part in the offense, and so was Kyle Rudolph. They made some big plays, but Evan Ingram's touchdown, fantastic catch, man. I see people saying, there goes Danny Diamond. That's a great throw. That is a solid throw up high. I talked about Taylor Heineke's throw to Ricky Seals-Jones against the Giants being one of my, better throws I've seen from Taylor Heineke this year. This fade route was one of the better throws I saw from Daniel Jones for sure. But at the same time, fade routes are routine in the NFL. We practice that a lot. He puts the ball up perfect where it's supposed to be. Evan Ingram makes a big catch. I mean, Randy Moss style. That's, those are the kind of athletic plays that Evan Ingram can make when he's playing off of his athletic ability and not relying on trying to turn him into something else that he really isn't. Because if you see, a lot of times Evan Ingram drops the ball, he drops the ball when he's in traffic. But Evan Ingram is a hybrid. He's not necessarily a tight end, really. He's a hybrid. He's like a wide receiver / tight end. And I see when wide receivers drop the ball in this league, whether it be Deontay Johnson for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're usually dropping the ball in high traffic. It's very rare you see those plays where, a guy's just striding down the field like Hollywood Brown is, and, perfect throw, bang, right on the hands, he drops it. Like Darius Slayton against the Washington football team, which was, that throw could be a little bit better, but as a wide receiver, that's where you want it. You got to make the catch there. You rarely see those kind of drops that just really deflate the crowd and deflate the fan base. So for me, it definitely starts up front. I mean, that's the number one thing. But where Daniel Jones was really good, I talked about it, 6 for 12 on third down is solid, man. To be 50% on third down when you had limited opportunities in this game. This game was definitely predicated on the run. The Giants had 10 drives on the day. And, to be 6 of 12 on third downs is amazing. He was 2 of 3 on third downs of 8 yards or more. The big third down run with the big spin, he had to do what he had to do. I don't want to see him in that kind of situation all the time, but he had to do what he had to do. Shout out to the homie Nate's Talk Sports one time in the building, man. Good to see you, man. I'm sure you're happy about this win, man. We got 74 in the building one time. Another spot where the Giants were really good, man, was all day long, the penalties, we were really good. Just 4 penalties on the day, I believe. Let me double-check the box score to just make sure I'm right on that one. Yeah, 4 penalties for 35 yards. It was a pretty clean game the whole day, especially coming after that game against the Chiefs, where the Chiefs had, I want to say, 12 penalties for over 100 yards, and the Giants had 10 penalties. The big ones coming late there on them late drives. O'Shane Ximines jumping off sides. You had the taunting penalty from Penny late in the game. Just a bunch of bonehead plays, man. And the one from Ximines took away the interception from Darnay Holmes, who was not having that great of a game, and that really could have salvaged his game there. Jones also started that game 9 for 9. That ties a career high for him as far as consecutive completions. I talked about the third and 8 throw to Kenny Golladay. That's a rope. Those are the kind of throws you want to see. That's an Aaron Rodgers type throw right there. Just fit it into a small window, and let your receiver just make the play on that and protect himself and get down. 2 first downs came from penalties on the day here. So, that's another thing to look at as well. We did get 2 first downs coming from the penalties, which those do extend drives. Now, the one thing I want to talk about, I've said a lot of good about Daniel Jones, and y'all know I've been bringing up a lot of the touchdown statistics of quarterbacks in the league who have more touchdowns than Daniel Jones, because I don't care what's going on. If you're throwing the ball and you got a lot of passing yards like Daniel Jones does on a year, he was 9th entering this game from all quarterbacks as far as passing yards go. You got to find a way to put the ball in the end zone. I don't care who's playing offensive line. I don't care who's playing wide receiver. And this has been the reoccurring theme for me with Daniel Jones. When you get those key moments for you to put the game away, right? It's very rare that the Giants are leading period. In the first place, in any game that Daniel Jones has been starting, it's very rare that the Giants have the lead. You know, we're always playing from behind. And that's because we don't get those quick starts. We got the quick start in this game, go up 7-0. We did allow them to come back down and tie it up really quickly. But when you get these late moments in the fourth quarter, you got to capitalize on these. And you guys know with Eli Manning, fourth quarter, down 4, down 3, up 3, which I think is a very important time for you to put some points on the board. You got a 3-point lead in the fourth quarter. You don't want to go down there and put up a field goal. You got a 4-point lead in the fourth quarter. You don't want to go down there and put up a field goal and just make it a 7-point game. You want to go up there and put a touchdown, force that team to make it a 2-possession game, and be able to, you know, force them to make plays now that are going to have to happen in a quick span for them to even have a chance at winning this game. So there was 2 key moments in this game for me. 17-16, the Giants are up in the third quarter. And Jones is looking good. You know, he had the one sole completion from Kadarius Toney on a third down to extend the drive early on. Giants cross the 50. You get the throw to Kenny Golladay on another third down. You get a run from Booker on another. The Giants are moving. I'm like, ooh, this looking good. Maybe this will be the first time Daniel Jones is going to really put this game away. Booker gets us into the red zone. We get within the 20. And the whole drive just stalls on a third down throw that it was short of the sticks on a route that wasn't moving. You know, it's a route where I believe it was Evan Ingram is just settling down about 4 or 5 yards down the field. You know when you throw it, you're not getting a first down on this. Instead, the Giants got to go here and settle for 3 to push it to a 4-point lead, where if you go here and you put up a touchdown here, all you got to do is kick it. You're going to have an 8-point lead, and we know now that analytics have been saying when you get into this position in the game, it's better to go for 2. So let's say the Giants do go for 2 there, and you push it to a 9-point game with under 8 minutes left in the game, 9 minutes left in the game. I mean, we're pretty much looking at a victory here. Our defense was playing well all day long. Daniel Jones fails again. I'm used to an Eli Manning converting in these situations and getting us W's. You know, maybe not so much late in his career, but definitely in prime Eli Manning, early Eli Manning. If you see that clock with a minute left, a minute 6 left in the game, and you down by 4 against the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm taking Eli Manning maybe over any quarterback in their prime, because Eli just had that clutch gene to be able to just take his team and no matter what was going on. When you look at Eli Manning in the playoffs against the San Francisco 49ers getting his helmet taken off pretty much, nobody goes, the offensive line was looking horrible. When you date back to the 2011 New York Giants, who I was having arguments with people on Twitter about this. We were dead last in rushing yards per game and rushing yards per attempt in 2011. And people got the nerve to say that we had a good run blocking team. No, we just turned it up in time for the playoffs. That's not a good run blocking team when you're struggling to get. It was 88 yards per game. That's not good running. Run blocking is literally the correlation of your runners and their average. Average yard per carry that year was under 4 yards. That's not good. Eli Manning found ways to put this team on his back with Victor Cruz obviously out there doing major, major damage. And the running backs literally had games kind of like you saw today from Booker or yesterday from Booker, where you putting up a good 80-plus yards. You doing just enough. But in return, Eli Manning wasn't putting up 110 yards. I mean, that's pretty pitiful. It's very pathetic. There's nothing pretty about it, to be honest. I don't even want to put pretty before pitiful because that's just bad. You know, you look at the game against the Chiefs, it's the same thing. I had a bunch of people tweeting me out when Evan Ingram got the touchdown on the first drive. You know, like, look, Awthentik, look. And I'm like, yo, I'm happy too, bro. I'm trying to win these games. Next possession, Daniel Jones puts the ball on the ground. For me, that's not what you want to see out of your starting quarterback. But at the same time, I'll take this all the way back to make this one point. The Giants got to find a way to build around Daniel Jones, for sure. You don't want to go out here and try to draft another quarterback and maybe waste another pick. You might be looking like them New York Jets. Because right now, the Jets have had 2 backup quarterbacks go out there and put up 4 touchdowns, over 300 yards in a game where Zach Wilson been struggling all year. Why? If you look at the press conference, their head coach said he's trying to do too much pretty much. He's trying to play hero ball. Sometimes you got to just take what's there and just take those short passes and live to play another down. Sometimes you just got to, settle for it on third down and not get the first down and punt the ball. And then in return, you might have a stat sheet that looks like punt, fumble, punt, field goal, punt, field goal, and still be able to win a game. So for me, it's all about looking at your quarterback, assessing what he can do as an offensive coordinator, and putting together the best game plan that you could possibly put together to try to sneak out a victory. If the Giants got to do it like this, they got to do it like this, because we've seen what happens in other games where you try to stretch the field. If you don't got time, you're not going to be able to do nothing about that. Shout out my homie one time, Bwick Maker West Bwick. That is the funniest name on YouTube, man. He said, I should be an all-star averaging 3 PF and 5 TOs. That's ridiculous, man. I appreciate you pulling up, man. You already know your presence here is more welcome than these super chats, man, but definitely appreciate the $2 super chat one time. Giants Nation is in the building one time. I see the homie Miz is in the building one time. Shout out my homie Miz one time. That's fam right there. Vauxhall's in the building one time, man. So, yeah, I mean, you know, just to cap this one off here, I just think that I got to take the push on this because, yeah, I want to see it with a new coordinator as well. I do want to see, because I think if we could see Daniel Jones in year 4 with another coordinator, it will at least give us some proof here, because we've seen it for 2 seasons right now. The Giants have put up the least amount of touchdowns, NFL low, 41 touchdowns in 2 seasons since 2020. I mean, that's just god-awful. You look at this game right here, we got 1 touchdown, and outside of that 1 touchdown, you got Xavier McKinney getting the interception pick 6, and you got Xavier McKinney getting another touchdown that puts us in field goal range. So that's 10 points right there that you got to credit the defense for. Outside of that, you're looking at a couple field goals. I mean, that's not good. For me, I can't hang my hat on that. But we got the W, so whatever it takes. So as far as Jason Garrett goes, if you're going to fire Jason Garrett, you got to fire Joe Judge. I don't want to see them make a midseason move. Just wait till the end of the year, because right now, unless something drastically changes with this team, I'm all for firing Joe Judge, Dave Gettleman, Jason Garrett, and Patrick Graham, and just bringing in a whole new regime, okay? You can't forget that Jeff Fisher had Jared Goff over there with the Rams, and he drafted him. And Sean McVay came in. Everybody's like, let the coach and the GM pick their quarterback and all that. Well, I don't know what happened over there, but they ended up with Jared Goff for the next 3 to 4 seasons. He dealt with that, and he built that team around by trading first-round draft picks the whole time. That, for me, I'm all for that. And I'm not saying, that the Giants need to go out here and trade all draft capital first-rounders and do exactly what the Rams did. But this is about having a perfect balance of building a team. And building a team is not necessarily building a roster. You see that with the Cleveland Browns right now. The Cleveland Browns got Odell Beckham over there. It's a distraction because that is not the identity of their offense. The identity of their offense is on the running back. And that's why you see Baker Mayfield. I think he threw the ball he had 14 completions in that game. Ain't nobody hanging their hat on that Baker Mayfield performance. But what it does when you got those 2 running backs out there, it allows your quarterback to play the game manager role and be able to get you wins. So for me, I've been talking about a bunch of different points that have to do with this offense all year long. One of them being address the running back 2 situation. It's not good that Penny is out there when Booker can't be out there. That's not good. And it's not good that Booker's out there when Saquon Barkley can't be out there. Find a way to utilize Saquon Barkley in this offense the proper way. Stop trying to turn him into Ezekiel Elliott. Stop trying to turn him into Derrick Henry. Those guys are anomalies. There's not many running backs that are like that. And even a guy like Ezekiel Elliott can get shut out. You saw what the Denver Broncos did to him this past Sunday as well. So find a way to put your players in the best position. If putting Daniel Jones in the best position is throwing the ball 20 times for 110 yards and we come out with victories, I'm all for it till you can find a better way. Build around his quarterback. Find a way to get a better offensive line out there. And make it happen. It's as simple as that, man. I don't think that the formula is too difficult for a guy like Jason Garrett. But Jason Garrett also is not making the roster decisions for the New York Giants. So we got to look at Dave Gettleman and Joe Judge and Mara's son and everybody else that's over there in the front office and figure out a way to put these guys in the right position to build a team, not build a pretty roster, if you know what I'm saying. And it seems like a lot of people were in favor of the overreaction on that one too, man. So I got to agree with y'all on this one. A new offensive coordinator will make Daniel Jones a top 10 quarterback. I'm going to say no. For just so I could give myself a little bit of room, I'm going to take the push. I'll take the push on it. But I'm leaning more towards that overreaction. I got to keep it funky with y'all. And let me see what people in the chat are talking about here. Oh, Miz was at the game. Nice. That's what's up, man. That was probably a good game to be at one time. Saying that Garrett changed the game plan on the fly. It seemed like it because the first scripted drive seemed like the Giants were going to be passing. There was 3 passes on that drive. Seemed like we were going to be passing throughout the day, and then as soon as they got the lead, they just said, all right. And maybe that's on Joe Judge. We know Joe Judge is super conservative. I don't know. I really don't know. And Miz wants me to bring him on. Miz, shout me next week. I'm going to be having Big Pat on. I'll bring the whole gang on if you want to pull up for the next show. We got to wrap this one up here in a second because I got the studio being booked here at 3:30, so we got to wrap this one up in a second. But we'll definitely politic. I'm going to be making my rounds on all Giants content creators live streams for sure, man. But yeah, I'll take the push on this one, man. Leaning towards that overreaction. I can't front, man. But I do want to see more passing style game plans to see what Daniel Jones can do, but I want to see what he can do when he does have a good offensive line. So this bye is coming at the perfect time for the Giants to go out here, get healthy, try to come out of that bye against the Tampa Bay Bucks. I'm not necessarily asking for a W in that game as much as I want one, but I just want to see good offensive football. We really haven't seen good offensive football the whole year outside of the Saints game, and I got to see it in person a little bit at the Washington football team game, which was probably Daniel Jones' best game. I mean, he was running the ball, he was throwing it all over the field, and he didn't have protection in that game. Let's not forget, I mean, Andrew Thomas was available, but it was looking really bad in that game. He was running for his life the whole day, making plays with people right in his face. Even that throw to Darius Slayton that wasn't caught, he made a good throw to have somebody right in his face. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what Daniel Jones can do in a passing style of game plan for sure, man. For those of y'all that are new, man, make sure to check us out tomorrow. Tuesday, we're going to be recapping all the NFC East games. I can't wait to talk about that Dallas game. As much as I've been saying I don't want to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, when they lose, I love to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Philadelphia Eagles took a loss too, man, to the Los Angeles Chargers. That was a really good game, man. I like what I saw out of both teams. It seemed like Jalen Hurts' defense kind of let him down in that game. But to see the Eagles kind of put up a fight against one of the teams in the AFC that are definitely going to be there when it's playoff time, that said a lot to me about them Eagles, man. And Devonta Smith had a pretty decent game on the day, too. Makes me a little bit more worried going into the back half of the season here for the Giants because we got to see those Eagles twice. I think I'm going to make my way out to that the game that's going to be at MetLife for the Eagles game too. So that should be an interesting one. But make sure to check us out tomorrow, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We'll also be doing previews for the Week 10 games on Thursday as well. So make sure to just keep your ears peeled, man. Awthentik and the Beard definitely just dumping out as much content as we possibly can. We're going to try to get through these 2 more overreactions before the show is over here. We kind of got to put our foot to the pedal here on the gas one time, man. We're kind of running out of time here just a little bit. But I wanted to switch this one up just a little bit here and talk about the Giants defense here. I saw this one kind of running around on Twitter a little bit as well. And people are saying the Giants defense is back and playing the way we expected, a top 10 defense. Now, everybody going into this year, with the addition of Adoree Jackson, who I might add that he had a really, really, really good game. He was doing some good things in coverage this game, had a couple pass deflections there, 4 tackles on the day, came up, made some stops. I like what I saw out of him, but the $30 million contract before entering this game was looking a little bit crazy. Adoree Jackson and Xavier McKinney. I know people saying Xavier McKinney's having one of, his best year for sure. I mean, he is a young guy. I will say he's probably having his best season, banged up in his first year. But both of those guys seem to be a little bit hesitant when it comes to stepping up and making the hit. And I think Xavier McKinney is starting to place a little bit more emphasis on that. And we saw a better tackler in this game. 7 solo tackles for Xavier McKinney in this game. 7 total tackles, 4 solo, 2 interceptions, 2 pass deflections. I mean, this is his best game as a Giant. And if he can put this kind of consistent play out here, and I'm not talking 2 interceptions. I know the 2 interceptions is flashy for the people that don't really, really watch ball and whatnot. But if he can just cover the way he has been, the over-the-top play that he makes where he saved James Bradbury is just, you see a guy who is studying tape. That doesn't look like a second-year safety. So he definitely balled out. But let's see what we got in the chat one time. If you think this is an overreaction, I need to see some O's in the chat one time. If you want to take the under, you kind of agree with this, let me see some U's in the chat one time. A word saying he saw Isaiah Rashard live recently. Yo, Isaiah Rashard's probably, I'm going to say, top 3 artists right now for me right now. I love Isaiah Rashard's music, man. He puts out some dope stuff. Great balance of what's happening currently in music and what's happened in the past in music. But let's see what this chat's talking about. Y'all know what it is. Giants Nation still in the building. We got about 60 still in the building one time right now on this Giant Overreaction Monday. Feeling real good. Victory week, man. We about a good hour into the show. Hey, this week I'm seeing more pushes than I've seen on any Giant Overreaction. We have, 7 previous to this one because we took a break on week 8 with the Giants playing on Monday night. But I'm seeing a lot more pushes. I got a push from No Mets, No Nets, No Jets. Shout out to the homie one time in the building. I see a push from Sunday. Shout out to Sunday. Mr. Mini Guy says, I don't know, not going to lie. I got a push from Independent Outsider. Shout out to Independent Outsider one time in the building. That's a new name I haven't seen too much. I got a push from Super Taj World one time. Yo, big pushes one time. Shout out to Super Taj in the building one time. Mac the Giants fan says this is an overreaction. I saw Mac the Giants fan talking about Giants fans be too hard on Daniel Jones about the fumbles. It's just, reputation, man. It's like if you got a reputation for screwing up, when you screw up, people going to be like, bro, what you doing? So I just think his reputation precedes him. It's, it's what happened in the first year for sure. But one of the only overreactions I'm seeing is from Mac the Giants fan. Big Low says it's an overreaction one time. Who else we got with the overreactions in the building one time? Tashima Smith, that's a new name one time. Overreaction. Salute to you. Welcome to the Overreaction with Awthentik. If you don't know, we do 4 podcasts a week over here with my homie The Beard, who's a Washington football team fan. We both live in D.C., so it makes it really interesting, a very different perspective on Giants content. But shout out to you with the overreaction there. So what I'm going to say is this is definitely an overreaction, okay? Now let's talk about some of the good before I talk about why this is an overreaction. The Giants defense did not allow a second-half touchdown for the 3rd consecutive game. That is very impressive. Now, for defensive coordinator Patrick Graham, it took us 7 weeks to realize that we needed to move James Bradberry around. Everybody knows James Bradberry is not really a fast kind of corner. And I think in the scheme we saw last season with the zone defense that everybody was complaining about. Remember everybody complaining, why the Giants always in this soft zone defense, right? I think in this game you really saw why they're in a soft zone defense a lot of the time, because they're trying to keep things in front of them. They don't want to get their cap peeled off by these flashy wide receivers. Granted, the Raiders were lacking one in this game for sure with the situation that happened with Henry Ruggs. But when you look at the Chiefs, the whole idea was to keep everything in front. Against the Chiefs, it almost looked like we were playing a prevent defense all the way up until they would cross the 50, and then the Giants would try to buckle down and make that stop. And we know last season the Giants defense was a bend, don't break type of defense. So keeping everything in front of you until you can shorten the field and allow a defense to be able to make plays confidently without knowing that one of these wide receivers might fly by them and make a big play. Just like the Xavier McKinney interception that was on the sideline there. I mean, if he's not over the top there, Bradbury's getting beat on that double move for sure. But, the defense to me is not, they don't look like a top 10 defense. And I talked about it last season. Everybody talking about it now. I swear there's a couple of points that I talk about. I talk about them for about 5-6 weeks, sometimes 5 years. And then finally I see people talking about it. But one of the things that I brought up last season, I don't care what nobody says, I'm the first person that brought this up. Look at the quarterback talent that the Giants played against last season and where they excelled. Yeah, they played good against Russell Wilson, but I feel like I'm just beating a dead horse. I've talked about this so much. But they played against quarterbacks like Brandon Allen, Kyle Allen, Alex Smith, Andy Dalton, Carson Wentz, Mitchell Trubisky. Who else was on that list, man? They're just a bunch of bums. Half of the games were against bums. Okay? So when you talk about ranking this defense when the season was finished in the 2020 season, they finished ranked 9th. They didn't look like a top 10 defense to me at all. Not one bit did it look like a top 10 defense to me. They look like a middle-of-the-pack defense, and right now they look like a middle-of-the-pack defense. You looking at Carolina, everybody want to talk about how bad Sam Darnold is, but then want to give credit to the defense. I mean, they shut him out. No touchdowns. It was a 3-point performance by the Carolina Panthers offense. Okay, that's a really good game from the defense, and I'll take them how I can get them. But you got to look at who you're going up against. Carolina Panthers are like one of the closest teams to the Giants, if you ask me. They got a great running back who can't stay healthy. They got a decent wide receiver in DJ Moore, but he is the focal point of that offense. And when you're game planning for the Giants right now, you got a game plan for a guy like Kadarius Toney. And then that leaves Kenny Golladay out there to kind of do some things, but they're not healthy. And the Carolina Panthers are dealing with issues on the offensive line as well, a bunch of injuries. In that game they played the Giants, they were without their left tackle. So when you look at us getting pressure against a quarterback and an offensive front like that, it's good, but it's not that impressive for me. It's good. It's good. It just looks okay. Okay? Now, this defense, they came into this year, the first 4 or 5 games, literally looking like the reason why we were losing games. And then it looks like they're getting their act together against, to me, what looks like average competition. Look at this game against the Chiefs, okay? They allow us to hang around that whole game. And any other team in the NFL outside the Green Bay Packers playing with Jordan Love is going to capitalize on that, and they're going to win that game. Jordan Love literally put up the worst rookie performance of the year outside of Justin Fields, which those are some of the worst rookie performances you've probably ever seen from a quarterback. That boy looked confused out there. But somehow, still, at the end of the game, they're down by a score and they can possibly get back in it and win the game. It really makes no sense. So when I look at the Kansas City Chiefs, granted, I'm not one of these people saying that the Kansas City Chiefs aren't going to be there. When it's playoff time, I do think that the Chiefs are going to find a way to get it together. Whatever they got to do over there, they might be a team that might want to make a move on Odell Beckham. I know they made that move on Josh Gordon, but it's not really looking like that's going to pan out. Or maybe you go out there and you make a move on defense because their defense is terrible. They were the 29th ranked passing defense in the league when the Giants went up against them, and we put up 16 points. I mean, that's crazy to me. But, speaking on the defense, they played a really good game in this game. I can't take nothing away from it. Quincy Roche had the 6th best pass rushing grade of all edge rushers in that week 9. Leonard Williams had 6 pressures, so they were getting a little bit of pressure on the quarterback. Granted, it didn't turn into a lot of sacks. They only had 1 sack on the day. But they were doing well. I like Quincy Roche out there with Azeez Ojulari, who's having a fantastic year. There's nothing we can say about that. Azeez is having a great year. Xavier McKinney, not much to be said there. I mean, he's played great ball in this game. And that soft zone defense is definitely working. But I think it's Patrick Graham is now out of options. He has no outs. He's got to play soft zone defense or this Giants defense is going to get beat. So for me, I like the game plan. I like what they're doing. But it's desperation time right now for the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator with the New York Giants, which for me, it doesn't give me a lot of hope moving forward. This defense definitely needs some more playmakers, but it does show that if we can get a little bit more pressure on the quarterback, that the guys in the secondary can handle things. I like what I'm seeing out of my man James Bradbury. He's getting those interceptions. He didn't get one in this game, but he's getting those interceptions. I think he has 4 on the year. Adoree Jackson, I like what I'm seeing out of him when he's in coverage. You got to just find a way to be able to put pressure on the quarterback and stop the run. That's where I thought the Raiders went wrong in this game. They got away from the run, and Jacobs was doing his thing in the run. But I do think that the missed field goal was a big reason for it. Like they were down by 7 there, and they were just trying to find a way to generate offense, and they felt that clock pressuring up against them. So for me, the defense, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a overreaction, and I'm going to say it 100%. Yeah, the defense has been playing well. The last 4 weeks, they've been doing well. I'll give them that. And they look like a top 10 defense if you just take away the first half of the season. But we can't do that. We have to accumulate everything that's happened throughout this season right now. Don't think they're a top 10 defense. Let's see what they do against the Bucs, because if the Giants can go out there and put together a good performance like they did in this game against the Raiders, and they do that against the Bucs, now we're just looking at the offense. The offense is going to have to find a way to be able to put some points on the board, because if we can limit the Bucs to, let's say, 17, 20 points, that should be a victory. That should be a victory. The Giants offense is going to have to find a way to put up points on the board. And I'm just checking the chat to just see what y'all talking here, just seeing where we at with it one time. Yeah, Bubs, I totally agree with you, bro. Bubs says the real test will be the Bucs. And I think you'll know where we stand. You can really gauge where the offense stands and where the defense stands. I think we know that the offensive coordinator is an issue with the Giants right now, for sure. We just can't make that move midseason. All right. We still got 60 plus in the building on a Monday. Giants victory Monday, man. Seems like when we lose, we get more people in here. People want to, express their feelings more when we lose and stuff like that. But that's what's up, man. I appreciate every last one of y'all being in the building. Y'all know what it is, man. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button. If you dig in with what we putting down over here with Awthentik and the beer, man. And hit that bell notification as well, man, so you know when we go live. I know YouTube be screwing that up sometimes, but let's get to this next overreaction. This one will be the last one of the day. And I like this one last because it'll allow us to kind of just put like just put a wrap on the whole Sunday game versus the Raiders. Get ready for next week. I'm kind of done talking about this win. This was one of the wins where I was like, I'm happy for the win, but at the same time, it was an ugly win. You got to take the wins how you could get them, but I don't want to see too many ugly games like this from the Giants. I don't think this will result in a W every time, to be honest. So this next one is, even with all the Raiders' issues, Sunday says more about the Giants trending up than it does about the Raiders. Let me know if y'all think this is an overreaction. If you agree that it is an overreaction, let me see an O in the chat. If you don't agree, let me see them U's in the chat one time. And if you want to take the push, put the push, or if you can find that hand emoji, put that hand emoji one time. Y'all know what it is. Awthentik in the beard one time. Give y'all a little time on that one, see where we at with it. I know where I'm at with it. Let me see what the chat talking about. Bub says overreaction one time. Max201 says he's going to take the under on this one. Jameson says overreaction. Shout out Jameson in the building. I know you were second today in the building, man. And Dan Big Blue says, I will take all ugly wins. Oh, yeah, man, I'm taking every win. I'm taking every win. It could be 3-0. I don't even care what it is. I'm taking a win. But when you're losing games the way the Giants have been losing, it is a little bit, it's not motivating to see your team go out there and put up wins like this when you know we got a couple of tough games coming up for sure. And big shout out to the homie one time, Kathinji Kanodi in the building. Appreciate your presence here, man, and I appreciate that super chat. That's major one time. I'll give you a couple of those one time. A couple power-ups one time, man. What y'all know about Ultra Beast in the chat? Y'all don't know about Ultra Beast. Y'all too young for that. Y'all wasn't outside when Ultra Beast was popping. He says, what up, bro? I agree the defense was highly overrated last year, but I am happy to see the young guys making plays. Still think the major problems on this team are O-line and edge. That's facts right there. Giants coaching staff trying to keep jobs. That is facts. And I saw a lot of people saying Joe Judge might be off the hot seat. There's no way in hell any of these coaches are off the hot seat right now. I mean, a lot of these games we're losing are because of coaching. Game plans. The discipline that he talked about instilling in this team, which you can't put 100% of like people jumping off sides and stuff like that on the coach. But at the same time, it's like you're here to mold these men or these boys into men to be able to not make those same mistakes, man. So, yeah, I totally agree with this statement from the homie Kathinji. I think that's spot on, man. There's nothing really to debate or argue about any of that right there, man. I appreciate you pulling up with the super chat, brother, and appreciate your presence. You know that's facts right there. All right, so let's see where we at with it. Couple of U's here, man. A lot of people taking the under here, man. Yeah, and I think I got to stay with y'all on that. Like, this looked like a game we should have lost. I'll keep it funky with y'all, man. Like, I didn't think we were going to win this game. Halftime, I'm looking at that score. I thought we dodged a major bullet right before the half when Derek Carr missed Darren Waller on that seam route up the middle, man. That would have put 7 on the board. You looking at now, going into the half, down 17-10 instead of 13-10. That was one of the most pivotal points. And it seemed like, speaking about quarterbacks not making the big play, maybe that's Derek Carr's problem too, because when his team needed him to really make a play in this game, he will make a turnover. You cannot win games like that, especially when you're throwing the ball as many times as he did. He threw it for 46 times on the day. He was 30 of 46 for 296 yards. He had 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He was only sacked 1 time on the day, so he was relatively clean on the day. The Giants were outgained almost double pretty much here. 403 total yards to 235. We were outpassed 286 passing yards to 96 net. And we had 8 fewer first downs. The Raiders won the first down battle 24-16. Talked about Carr missing that an easy seam route to Darren Waller on the touchdown right there, and they have to settle for 3. Then they missed the field goal in the second half with the score 20-16, which would have cut it to 20-19. Now you're talking about a 1-score game. Derek Carr is probably not going to make as many mistakes as he did late in that game, down by 1, knowing that his team only had to go down and get a field goal. Instead, you pressing to try to get to 7 when the Giants come back down and Daniel Jones can't convert in the red zone and we settle for 3. This could have been a way closer game for Derek Carr to try to execute and finish out. He finished the day with a QBR of 23.9. Yo, that's awful. And we got to credit the defense for a good portion of that for sure. This defense did do their thing, but Derek Carr was not himself on the day. 3 turnovers. The Giants clinched the game. And y'all know me, man, when Daniel Jones took them sacks late against the Kansas City Chiefs on the last drive, in 4 plays, you take 2 sacks. I got a real problem with that. And in this game, Derek Carr takes a sack to end the game pretty much, a strip sack from Quincy Roche. Shout out to Quincy Roche, balling out right now, looking like that was a great pickup for sure. But I got to say that this says more about the Raiders' turmoil than it does about the Giants trending up. They played a pretty average game. Defensively, it was relying on the turnovers. I do think that the Raiders were able to run the ball on us all day. 117 yards on the ground against the Giants. I mean, that's not like crazy numbers, but they were forced to throw the ball 46 times. So for me, I mean, that's looking real good. They averaged 6 yards per play. I mean, it's not a fantastic game from the Giants. I got to keep it funky with y'all. So for me, this says a lot more about where the Raiders are. Y'all know about the Henry Ruggs situation. Unfortunate for all parties involved, for sure. But they're playing without their main down the field threat outside of Darren Waller. And, you know, throwing to guys like Zay Jones, that doesn't look fantastic for Derek Carr. But I'm the kind of guy, man, next man up. You got to be able to make plays. The Raiders were 4 for 12 on third down, bro. That's awful. The Raiders were 1 for 6 in the red zone. That's awful. They scored on their first red zone opportunity and then proceeded to go 0 for 5 in the red zone. The Giants now, we should have capitalized more and got more red zone opportunities. The Raiders were coming into this game as the worst red zone defense in the NFL. And the Giants get 1 touchdown out of it. I wasn't happy about that. So for me, this is just an ugly game across the board. Like, both teams really didn't do much in this game, if you think about it. Outside of Xavier McKinney, this would have been one of those games, 13-10, 16-13 or something like that, you know? So I got to say that this says a lot about the Raiders, but I also think it says a lot about the New York Giants. I mean, the New York Giants aren't a good team right now. This one win is not going to have me going crazy celebrating like, oh, we're back. Giants are a good team. Can't do it. There's no way, because what I see on the field, especially with my eyes, it just looked bad. And shout out to the homie Bark Nasty one time. I see him in the building one time. Let me bring up his comment. I haven't read it yet, but I do see him in the building. He says, disagree again. The game plan was to let them run and make red zone stops, same as it was for KC. Back to last year's game plan. Giants had chances to. If Giants lost that way, we'd say bad teams do that. For sure. For sure. And I don't think that the Giants necessarily went out here and took this game outside the defense. I will say the defense did their thing, and when they needed the big turnover, they took the turnover. But I talked about the opportunities that Daniel Jones and his offense had late in this game to put it away. Just put it away. You know, and if that is the game plan to allow them to run, outside of that missed field goal, I think that the Giants probably lose this game. But we can't rely on ifs. I definitely feel you on that. But for me, as a fan, I would like to see my offense doing a little bit more. Relying on Booker's 99 yards and 110 yards from the quarterback, I'm a little iffy on that game plan. Maybe I should have took the push on the game plan, because to me, that game plan is not going to win a lot of games, and the Giants were very lucky to even win this game with that game plan. But shout out to the homie Bark Nasty one time in the building, man. Just keeping my eye on the chat one time here, seeing what y'all talking about. Shout out Eric Garrison. I see that comment one time. That's what's up, fam. That's what's up. No more injuries. Eric Garrison, yeah. No more injuries, bro. We got to find a way to stop getting these players hurt. And I see people blaming that on, like, you know, people in the coaching department, you know, player personnel stuff. You can't blame that really on them, man. Injuries going to happen in the NFL for sure. The injuries are definitely going to happen. I think you got to blame more of that on your offensive coordinator and your coaches, because you got to put your players in positions not to get killed. You know, you look at Jason Garrett's system, all these short throws don't allow wide receivers to really get in a stride to be able to get to running. Everything is very short and tight. You know, when you play wide receiver, for anybody that's ever played wide receiver out there, you'd much rather run those vertical routes than running these short dig routes, out routes, slant routes, stop routes. I used to hate the stop play, man. I used to hate that play because I'm just catching it right off the bat, and now it's all on you. Whole defense coming at you, trying to make a play. They're trying to get Kadarius Toney open on plays like that. That's not how I feel like we need to scheme him open. I think we need to scheme him open more on a vertical route kind of system. But in return, that's going to take offensive line to be able to do some things, man. That offensive line has been struggling mightily, you know? So it's hard to figure out what the right game plan is here. And I'm just a fan, man. I don't know as much as these guys that are in the locker room or these guys that are behind the headsets making the coaching calls and making the plays. I think they're doing their best from their knowledge of how to put these players in the right position. But the injuries are piling up, man. They're piling up. And I think a lot of that has to do with the short route concepts that Garrett is forced to run. I don't think that he necessarily wants to run that, But sometimes, a scheme doesn't work with the personnel that you have. If you look at Jason Garrett in Dallas, Dez Bryant and Dak Prescott were not the great duo that Amari Cooper and Dak Prescott are. Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper seem to be a better duo. So, for me, on this one, oh my God, hey, me and Bubs, shout out to Bubs one time. Me and Bubs, we really seeing eye to eye, because I miss them slants to the house too. I don't understand why in this short route concept offense, we don't run more of the slants. A slant, that's the great play for catch and go. With Dante Pettis out there a couple weeks back, he showed he can do that a little bit. I know Darius Slayton has struggled on the slants. Galladay, that's probably not his number one route, but he's a big body receiver. He should be able to get in position to be able to catch the slant route. I would love to see more of the slant route. You see like routes out here where all three wide receivers are running comebacks. I mean, I think that speaks volumes to the offensive line situation, and it speaks volumes to the quarterback too, man. I think that the quarterback, he's not the kind of guy who's elusive that's going to be able to extend plays like that to keep it funky. So you got to find a way to at least be able to sustain drives and gain yards. And I think Jason Garrett is doing everything that he possibly can to do that, And I feel like he will be. We talked about this earlier in the year. Tim from Online Big Blue always says this, that Jason Garrett is going to be the sacrificial lamb for this offense, and eventually he will be fired. If I had to bank on it, I'm going to say the Giants are probably going to stick with Joe Judge. I don't think that's a good idea. I think you need a guy who's at the top of the organization that's an offensive mind. This is an offensive league right now. I think it's very important that you be able to score points in this league. We cannot keep relying on this defense to try to win us games. That's just not the vibe, man. So, to just put a little cap on this one right here, does this say more about the Giants? I think it says more about the Raiders, but it says a lot about the Giants here that, the defense is probably a bit ahead of the offense here. The offense is definitely going to have to catch up. Being outgained by almost 200 yards, that's not a good look. And Eric Garrison says that Garrett wasn't an OC for over 10 years. So it goes to show you how dated, his style of offense is. And it's predicated on having a solid running back. I like Devontae Booker, but Devontae Booker is not that kind of running back. And if you're going to go with Devontae Booker, at least go with a better number two. Don't have like Penny out there relying on Penny to be your second running back, who ran pretty good in this game. I think it was like 4 or 5 carries for 35 yards or something like that. He ran pretty good. Dan Big Blue says, stop the Wildcat. It's crazy because a lot of fans were asking for this. They was asking for the Wildcat. And I was in Entertainer and Bad Dogs live stream, and as soon as they ran the Wildcat, everyone in the chat was like, why did they do that right there? I thought the play call wasn't too bad, but here's the thing, man. When it gets stopped, fans are going to complain. That's just what it is, That's just what it is. When it gets stopped, fans are going to say, why did they do that there, right? I saw all the fans complaining about throwing short of the sticks, but 2 of our touchdowns were short of the sticks. You go back last week, we had 3 third-down conversions that were short of the sticks. The one that didn't convert that was short of the sticks, everybody want to be like, oh, my God, Shepard, you're running the wrong route and blah, blah, blah. It's like, man, I'm like, if the play worked, the play worked. So I'm not going to sit here and nitpick each play. But I don't like the Wild. I've never liked the Wildcat. I remember when Miami was running it with that one running back. What was my man's name? Ronnie something. I can't remember. Ronnie Brown, I think. And they had success, but I was like, look at this. Y'all ain't got no quarterback. Wildcat is for teams that ain't got no quarterback. So, like, it kind of says what the Giants think about Daniel Jones for sure on that too, man. But with this, I definitely think that the Giants got a lot to clean up. It's great to get the victory here. We're looking at about an hour and 20 minutes into the stream. And, Dan Big Blue says, doing too much or doing it too much. For me, I'm going to just say doing too much because it's like, just chill. Stop all these double passes and reverse passes and trick plays. It goes to show you how garbage of an offense that we literally have. So for me, it's like, just get back to the basics, just get back to playing regular football, man. Like, I like what they were doing in the running game, but you do got to find a way to get your wide receivers a little bit more involved in this game. To have Kadarius Toney and Kenny Galladay combined for 3 catches, that's pathetic, man. That's just bad. So I'm very curious to see what we're going to do in this off week on the bye and what we do going in, into the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's gonna really, really, really be a downer to not have Giants football for a week. I don't even know what I'm gonna do. I don't even like watching football when the Giants aren't playing. I love having Red Zone on and having the Giants game on at the same time. So it's gonna be a little bit lonely here without the Giants playing this Sunday or Monday. And I love the Monday night games. I love those because you get to watch all the Sunday football, see who loses in the NFC East, and be able to just watch your team comfortable, knowing what we're going to be facing the following week. And Vauxhall, look, I mean this sounds good, right? But this is like this is thinking like Madden. If you saw what happened when Daniel Jones tried to go down the field, he fumbled the ball. They tried to drop him back 5 steps, get him to get some vertical routes going, he fumbled the ball. This offensive line is not good enough right now to be able to throw deep shots down the field. That's my opinion. When you get Andrew Thomas back, Daniel Jones does read pressure to his right side better. And that's why I think most of these throws in this game were rolled out to the right and thrown to the right. And also another reason why these throws are rolled out and thrown to the right is because a quarterback is better when he's throwing to his right. He's got more leverage. He can throw the ball with more velocity when he's rolling to his right over rolling to his left. Don't let him tell you any different. I know there's a couple people out here talking different. They're losing their mind. I played QB. You can throw it farther, more accurate, more power, everything when you're rolling to the right. So I think that's why they're doing it. He can see it better to the right. He don't got to worry about that blindside pressure from the left. I know that I don't. I'm not even gonna say I know. I think that Nate Solder at this moment is a better tackle than Matt Pert is. But I think that they're willing to die on Nate Solder protecting the right side and rolling everything to the right and allowing Daniel Jones to see it all to his right and know that he has a certain clock that he has to get rid of the ball before whoever's rushing him from the left side actually gets there. So I think that has a lot to do with it, Vauxhall. It's tough. It's tough to be able to try to throw the ball downfield, even if they're incomplete. Yeah, but a lot of these will turn into turnovers. How would you feel about that? Do you want to take more deep shots with the risk of turning the ball over more? That's probably a good question for you. Let me know. I'll keep my eye on you in the chat and see how you feel about that. Because I know some Giants fans will just be like, let's die on it. Whatever. Fumble the ball. Turn it over. Throw it, whatever. Let's just try to throw the ball deep. For me, I'd say you got to play that a little bit more conservative. And, maybe not throwing it deep down the field, but find a way to, keep a tight end in and at least throw, 10 yards down the field, because right now the way that the chart looked for him throwing the ball, which, you know what, before I get up out of here, I think I can upload that real quick. I want to show y'all that chart. I think it's important for us to see that chart. Let me make sure I had it here. Not on my desktop. Okay. I thought I had that chart. I don't got that chart. Do a quick search, see if I can find it for y'all real quick. But if you check out Next Gen Stats, they go week to week. They show you the charts for all these quarterbacks. And let me see. This is right here. This is right here. Bam. Check this out. So this was Daniel Jones' chart on the day. He had 3 throws. This little short one here is probably a screen. He had 3 throws to the left side. Do you see this one that's behind the line on the left side of the chart? That was the one to Kadarius Toney, I believe, which was behind the line. Outside of that, everything was to the right. But when you see these throws like that, man, my God, that looks crazy. That looks really crazy to see a chart like that. But I think we do got to find a way to throw it at least a little bit deeper. Just throw it a little bit. Give us them 10s, them 12s. That third down to Kenny Golladay was a good example of, at least throwing the ball down the field a little bit. You can do three-step drops and get the ball down the field 10, 15 yards at least, So I do agree with you a little bit on that, Vauxhall. You got to find a way to at least get it down the field. But deep shots, I don't know if we got the offense to be able to do that. My man Word in the building one time. Shout out Word. Loving that profile pic too, bro. He says, feed the ball to Booker. I think that's what we're going to have to die on for the rest of the season, man. Feed the ball to Booker. Use Saquon Barkley when he gets back healthy. Use him in the screen game. Use him in the passing game. We saw it against the Saints. That was the best the offense looked probably all year as far as stretching the field. But I agree with you. Feed Book, man. You got to. This what you're going to die on. The Giants really got no other way to win games. If you just allow Daniel Jones to drop back and throw the ball, he's going to get sacked a lot more. You're going to see a lot more turnovers. And you're going to see weaker and more poor offensive line play. So I got to 1,000% agree with this, man. Just feed the ball to Booker for now. And that's probably the vibe. it's not really else that this offense can do. There's no other options right now. Can't just keep trying to stretch the field and watch Daniel Jones get obliterated. And also, I don't like the RPO. I'm gonna keep that 100% funky with y'all. I do not like the Giants running the RPO because that is just a recipe to get Daniel Jones hurt. And I'm not trying to see our quarterback hurt. I'm down on the quarterback right now because we're not throwing a lot of touchdowns, but passing yards, he is getting a good amount of passing yards outside of this game. But I am down on the quarterback because there's no excuse to have 8 touchdowns after week 9. That's scary. That's less than a touchdown a game. You ain't got to be a mathematician to know that. That's pretty scary. So we got to find a way to be able to put up some points on the board and, get into the end zone when you get into the red zone. It's like I'm holding my breath every time the Giants get in the red zone. And I know when Daniel Jones took that sack on that blindside pressure after the first fumble, I tweeted out, I said, you're not a Giants fan if you wasn't holding your breath right there. Because I was just like, I literally gasped for air when that happened. Because you know what it is. You know Daniel Jones is probably going to fumble when he gets hit blindside. So we got to find a way to be able to protect his left side. I mean, that's most important for him. Daniel Jones, when he's got protection on the left, he can definitely make some plays. But you guys saw the passing chart. That's not what we want to see out of our quarterback. That I don't know about y'all, but that's not what I want to see out of my quarterback. But all in all, good W for the Giants, man. I can't be more happy, especially in a game where I feel like we were a bit outplayed outside of the turnovers. Defensively, definitely did our thing. Bub said I was on the edge of my seat, bro, for sure, dog. I mean, I was just like, you could see it a mile away, man, when you're looking at it from the camera angles that we get. You could see it a mile away, and you're just like, oh, man, here it goes. Here it goes. But dare I say, this offensive line looks worse than I've ever seen it. I mean, Nate Solder looking worse than Eric Flowers out there, which that's sketchy. That's sketchy. Sunday, I appreciate you putting this up there one time. Y'all know what it is. This is the schedule for myself and the Beard. Name of the podcast is Awthentik and the Beard. We got a Washington football team fan. My brother, we grew up together. I known this man since I was like 4 years old, something like that. Been here in D.C. and Maryland area my whole entire life. I live on North Capitol right now. So I get the perspective of this Washington football team which is kind of crazy. And Washington football team fans love Daniel Jones because Daniel Jones has roasted the Washington football team every time he's played them. But appreciate you pulling up the schedule here Sunday. That's love right there. Eric Garrison says that Nike hoodie is flame. Got this joint at the Nike outlet in D.C. If you ever come to D.C., the Nike outlet here is amazing. It's right there on New York Avenue, like dead in the city. And no shame. I had this joint on yesterday. I woke up and was just like, whatever, man. Whatever works for the Giants to get a win. I ain't even tripping, man. But appreciate that, bro. So we're gonna get out of here, man. We still got 60 in the building right now, man. We definitely gonna get out of here. This was just a good W for the Giants, man, to come out with the win here in an ugly game. I will definitely take it. My man Dan Big Blue said cardboard box blocks better than Solder. And that is facts. But we got to give Solder a little bit of something. I'll give him 3 air horns because in the running game, he did a decent job on the day, man. But yeah, Giants got to find a way to move on from Nate Solder after the season. That's just a waste of money. And find a way to improve this offensive line. Find a way to assess these players. Find a way to bring in talent. Find a way, man. Find a way to get some pressure on the quarterback. Find a way to get this defensive line improved. Definitely like what I'm seeing out of Leonard Williams. I don't know if y'all think he's worth the money or not. Maybe we'll save that one for the next Giant Overreaction, man. I appreciate all of y'all being in the building one time, man. Make sure to check us out tomorrow. We're going to be doing our recap of all 4 NFC East games. It's going to be a lot of fun talking about those Eagles, man, and a lot of fun talking about those Cowboys. Washington football team was on a bye, so for them, that's a W. If the Giants could have came away with an L, my God, that would have been the one way that the Washington football team would have got a win this week without even stepping foot on the field. Man, I appreciate all my day ones. I appreciate all the Giants Nation in the building. Y'all know what it is, man. Ain't nobody a fan here at this show. Everybody is fam. So if you consistently see yourself here in the chat, consider yourself fam, man. Shout out to my homie The Beard one time in the chat. Y'all know what it is. Let's see them biceps in the chat before we get up out of here. Let's see them bicep emojis, man. Y'all know what it is. Left side, strong side. We in the building one time. Man, couldn't do this without y'all, man. Moderators, I appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all letting Jameson talk his talk today, man. I saw a couple of people was blocking Jameson from the channel. He's having to make a new account like every week. And shout out to his Braves one time, man. I know the Braves got the dub in the World Series, man. So shout out to them. Y'all know what it is, man. Keep living those dreams out there, man. Keep doing y'all thing. Keep raising the bar, man, out here. Keep rooting for these New York Giants, man. I don't know if we got to keep spending money on the merch right now. They got to find a way to put a better product out there on the field. For those of y'all that are going to be at that Eagles game, I want to say that might be the week after the bye. Maybe that's the one that is in Philadelphia. I might go to that one too, man. If I can find some cheap tickets to some Giants games right now, especially with us sitting at 3-6, I'm going to go ahead and do that, man. Maybe we'll do some live content from some of these games. I think that would be really awesome. You know, it's dependent on that interconnection one time. My man Den says he don't know how you feel about the Giants. I feel you, man. I'm right there with you, man. It's been a frustrating season, man. The slow start is really, that has a lot to do with it. You know, the slow start was really tough for the Giants, man. Like, couldn't get off that losing streak to start the year, man. But right now, things are looking better. For me, I said if we could win one of these 2 next games with the Chiefs and with the Raiders on the schedule, we could keep that 9-win kind of thing kind of alive. But we're definitely banking on a miracle here. We need to win both those games against the Eagles. We need to win that game against the Bears. We need to beat the Dolphins. We're going to need to beat the Washington football team at the end of the year. Outside of that, hopefully we can get some surprise wins, man. But y'all know what it is, man. Left side, strong side is in the building. Like I said before, go out there, live those dreams, man. Raise that bar. Keep raising that bar for yourselves, man. I'm going to continue to try to deliver the best Giants content we could possibly deliver from my perspective on things, from a fan perspective on things. And I'm going to just try to keep it funky with y'all all time. We're not going to be talking about those if. Y'all know what it is. If was a fifth, we'd all be drunk, man. But this is the kind of game where you could do what you do and go get a little drunk. Hope y'all celebrate. Hope y'all enjoy this victory week, man. This is going to be a good one. I'm going to have a lot of memes going around this week. You know I got to check the stats one time and see where we stand as far as passing touchdowns, because I've been trolling my boy Daniel Jones for like 2 weeks now. 8 passing touchdowns on the year, man. But y'all know what it is, man. Y'all be good. I will see y'all tomorrow at 7 p.m. on Awthentik and the Beard with my homie The Beard. One time we'll be talking reviews, man. So y'all make sure to pull up, man. Tell a friend to tell a friend. On your way out, hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed, man. I'm going to holler at y'all. Y'all be good, man. Peace.